Sally Haynes-Hubble. I'm the priest and the rector here at St. Paul's Church, and it's a great honor to welcome you here tonight. And Ronald McKean, it's wonderful having you here too. Thank you so much for coming and playing our beautiful organ. I think you all have programs, and in the programs there's the story of the organ, which was a really huge accomplishment and effort on the part of St. Paul's Church to build this, to buy this older organ, restore it, and bring it here. So that's in the bulletin, along with the welcome statement from St. Paul's, and also this wonderful page that talks about our ministries to the community. We have a regular meal program every Sunday that they're just cleaning up from. We have hot meals on Tuesday, food 3 days a week whenever we're open for our shower ministry. We serve anywhere from, I don't know, 35 to 45 people every week. Just for showers alone, we feed a lot more than that. 1,864 lunches so far this year, 755 showers. Everyone who comes to our door is given clean socks, a towel, toiletries, and a friendly face and a welcome into the parish hall. So there is a QR code right here that you can use the camera on your phone to help us support if you feel so moved. Something that is not announced in this bulletin, but that I want to invite you all to, is this Friday, October 24th at 6 p.m. we have an author named Randall Balmer coming to speak here at St. Paul's. He's a historian of religious history of the United States at Dartmouth College, and he's just written a book called America's Best Idea, The Separation of Church and State. And so it's about First Amendment and the history of the First Amendment and the separation of church and state, and he also takes a look at Christian nationalism. It's a very timely topic, and he will be here in the sanctuary 6 p.m. on Friday, and then come into the parish hall for a reception and book signing and so forth. I have extra flyers here. Please, I'll put them out in the narthex in that front room, but feel free to take one of these and to share it with anyone who you think might be interested. I think that's everything. We have a wonderful program tonight that I'm really excited to hear. I know it'll be very beautiful. And so without further ado, I present Ronald McKean.
Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me, Paul, to play this beautiful instrument. The instrument, shall touch on this, is not the king of instruments. There are no kings in the organ world. What I prefer to look at it is a palette of sound, a palette of like a painter's palette. You have different sounds. The organ has been compared to an orchestra, and that's true. But it's also true that the organ is like a consort, where you have different instruments, like a recorder's playing, or a vocal group, and then most of the music I'm playing today, except the first piece, is kind of related to that in some way, particularly the Svaling and then the Passacaglia at the end. So the first piece that I'm going to play is by J.S. Bach when he was about 18, and it shows his ardor toward doing everything, putting everything in one piece. And sometimes I like to play this piece because it shows a little bit of everything Bach likes to do. And that's kind of how he operated early in his career. When it came to keyboard music, it was almost always a very either virtuosic, or he'd try a little of this and a little of that. Some composers that he referred to was like Buxtehude or Bern, and those composers did the same thing. And so what Bach did was try to keep a consistent idea through the whole thing, while trying various little ideas throughout the piece. So I hope you enjoy it. Prelude and Fugue in C minor. Mein junges Leben hat ein Ende. My young life is at an end. Is a folk song, was a typical folk song. It would have been found in 16th century Northern Europe, particularly around the region of Belgium and Holland. And what was very typical at the time was to compose, indeed improvise, on selected tunes that were very popular at the time. England had a ton of them, and Spain, all the countries had a ton of variations on popular tunes, or on madrigals, or even on chant tunes. But in this case, it was sort of a popular tune. And we're still curious about why did we find these in Sveling's work. The organ was questionable whether it was used very much in church. So this could be used on harpsichord as well as the organ. And it shows a variation technique and all the different kinds of figuration. And Svelink was a very intricate composer. If you ever looked at Dutch miniatures, which are about this big, there's a whole world inside there that they paint with a single horsehair brush, and they paint these detailed scenes and colors and scenes. It's remarkable. And so that's the kind of music that this is. It's very narrow, detailed, compact, and there's a whole world inside it. Now the next piece, Carlos Seixas, was a Portuguese composer of the 18th century. And Scarlatti called him a master, which is funny coming from Scarlatti because Scarlatti is an ultimate master on the keyboard. But the admiration went both ways. Carlos Seixas was quite enamored with Scarlatti's work, Domenico Scarlatti's work. This was an era where Spain had such a repository of organ music that spans 3 centuries. It's one of the most remarkable periods in history, a lot of literature, and some of it very severe and others very playful. It was very characteristic of the Iberian experience, since the whole Iberian Peninsula probably had some of the most dynamic changes in culture. We tend to think, oh, Spanish, that's Spanish, but really since the Visigoths, well, way before that even, you've had a mixture of Moors and such. So the music and the architecture all kind of chimes in, kind of the same thing. Well, we came to Seixas to see about his sonata work, and most of it is for harpsichord or some sort of keyboard instrument. Even pianos might have been around at the time, but no one to this day has discovered the Spanish harpsichord. It doesn't exist. There's no extant copy of one, so we don't know what that's like. But the organs, there are many organs that are in Spain and Portugal that still exist from the old days. And so this is a sonata, and it has 3 movements, but actually it has a variety of movements depending on which page you turn, because they'll just say sonata, and then the publisher will just put all the D minor ones so you can mix and match. And that's how they did it in those days. They weren't obsessed with forms that way. So this is a sonata allegro form, and it follows everything that you might even hear in Mozart. sort of something I put together. Clarines meaning trumpet, or a trumpet stop, or some sort of, Martin E. Cole, there's a collection a huge collection of pieces from various composers and anonymous composers that was in this music called Flores de Musica, Flowers of Music. It's very similar in concept to Episcopal is Fior Musicali, which is flowers of music. So the idea that music was organic, it spun off, and all this creativity, that's what it was about. And in this time, in the 1750-ish, it's hard to tell when these pieces were written, and this is an anonymous piece. It's not actually by Martin E. Cole. But in it is a passacaglia, which is a repeating pattern. Now, not all passacaglias were the same. For those of you who know music, we think of them as in 3/4 or 3/4 time of some sort, but very often they were in 4. Well, this one's in 3. So it's like a dance, and it sort of is like the passe-pied, only the passacaglia has a repeating, like a chaconne. It's a constant chord pattern or a theme. In this case, it's a chord pattern, and then the chord pattern kind of changes a little bit. And so there are variations on top, and there's not many. These were used to improvise on, and indeed that's how most of this music was created, through improvisation and dance. A lot of them reflect dance. Following that is a whole series of echo trumpet pieces that, if you could imagine, on a Spanish organ, the trumpet, some of the trumpets would be upright. They called them in the back real, and some of them would be battaglia, would be facing outward. The idea is that it was to mimic the great battles in Spain, or some sort of other pompous. Spain had a kind of code, militant mysticism, you might call it, in which the accoutrements of their dress and the whole honor and military culture was quite in full force in the 16th century. So the organs that were built there were designed to do many things, but some of them have these trumpets which were designed to mimic a battle. Well, that's not what this is necessarily. They're excerpts, from all that we can tell, of other pieces. So the Spanish were not concerned about preserving a single piece. They would take parts of a piece and say, oh, this one's mine because I added these notes. But that kind of like pop music today a little bit. Anyways.
whatever you'd like.
All right. Well, I'll do something on I have to change glasses. On Tulun. That's a tune that we did a while ago. I don't know if you have that in your book.
It is.
It is? Maybe I'll do that. Okay. So this will be a little set of variations. Organists are called upon to improvise all the time. That's basically what we do when there's things that have to happen in the mass or the service. Things that people are waiting, or when you're, deciding to do something that's a little more interesting than just playing the hymn as it is. So that's how we do it, and it's a variation. It's also a way to explore the organ the way you want. You want to find out the various stops on it and what they do. And the improvisation is an imperfect art. It relies on things that are patterned and things that are subtle and things that happen that you don't expect. So I hope you enjoy it. It's a little set of variations. You'll know when it ends.
So if you want to follow along, it's 359 in your hymn, if you want to take a look at what the tune is. We're thrilled for coming. And on the back of your program is the rest of the concert. So take the program with you. The next one is going to be on a Friday, not a Sunday. So make sure we cut the big black box around it. That's on a Friday night, so take that with you to remind yourself. Thank you for coming.